Welcome back, everybody, to the 2018 North American Pokemon International Championships. Here in Columbus, Ohio, we have crowned 3 TCG champions so far, 1 VGC champion, 2 Pokémon Tournament DX champions, and now we are ready to get underway to crown the Senior Division VGC champion here right now. My name is Dewey Ha, and joining me at the desk, of course, is Adam Doricott. Are you excited for these matches?
How can you not be excited? Let's be honest about what we've seen today across TCG, across Pokémon, even our juniors division here in the video game. All the games have been so exciting. And to be honest, I don't see that stopping. Coming into this final, had a little look at what we may be seeing, and it looks pretty juicy, if I'm honest with you, Dewey.
60 players started the day yesterday competing, vying for this title of North American International Champion. We are now down to our 2 finalists, and let's go ahead and meet them down on the stage with Anna.
Let's hear it for our finalists in the Pokemon Video Game Seniors Finals. I am so thrilled to introduce you to these two. Put your hands together for Enzo Recchi and Alfredo Chang Gonzalez. Are you ready to give us a good match, guys? I think you are. Go ahead and take your seats and let's get right into this game.
All right, 2 players that are no strangers to this big stage tournament. Enzo Recchi, of course, versus Alfredo Chang Gonzalez. This is actually not their first time competing against each other.
Not this year. They've already met in Latin America. You'll definitely recognize these players if you've been watching the competitive circuit for a while, of course. This time last year in Indianapolis. Familiar face.
Alfredo Chang Gonzalez was
he was part of that pretty brutal Australian sweep in the video game. I don't know if you've put it out of your memory, Dewey, but I know the US didn't have such a good performance that weekend, and another Commonwealth nation took it there. But of course, if he wants to repeat that, he's going up against one of America's finest players in the senior division in Enzo.
Enzo, of course, 2 years ago here in Columbus, Ohio, at the 2016 National Championships, was actually the champion in the juniors division. And you can see his list of accomplishments here. You know, the 2018 International Championships, he had top 8 finishes in Latin America and in Europe, made it to the top 4 at the World Championships in 2016. He's piloting that team of Nihilego, Charizard, Pheromosa, Tapu Lele, Smeargle, and Kartana. Very hyper-offensive team, but over on the other side, he does have a very strong player, and one of my most fond memories of last year was definitely the interview that Alfredo Chang Gonzalez gave after he had won the International Championship, and he here showcasing his accomplishments, the Latin American International top 4 finish, another top 4 finish at the Oceania International Championships, and you know, in 2017 he had the Oceania International top 8, piloting the team of Tapu Koko, Cresselia, Metagross, Incineroar, Landorus, and Gastrodon.
Yeah, I love that we've come around full circle to have a 2016 winner, a 2017 winner join up in the finals here in 2018. Just really nice to see these players consistently putting in performances. Just over the course of the year, they don't seem to fall short that often. They're always in a top cut. May not always be a victory, but it's always a top-tier performance for both these players.
Yeah, so Enzo definitely trying to get revenge after Alfredo Chan Gonzalez knocked him out of the Latin American International Championships. Now jumping into team preview right off the bat, you know, we've already mentioned before that Enzo's team is very hyper offensive.
Yeah, well, Enzo's team really, if you're in for a penny, you're in for a pound. It's the quickest team out there, really. Everything on that team looks so fast, particularly when you look over to Alfredo's side of the field. Definitely some more slower Pokemon, some more tactical Pokemon, the Gastrodon, the Incineroar, the Cresselia. Those are kind of options that we've not seen on Enzo's side. He's there to deal damage with Pokemon that are known predominantly for nothing but offense. Pheromosa, Charizards, Kartanas. Those rarely provide a support role, so it's all going to be up to the Smeargle for any kind of support. But if you're going to have to bring everything on one Pokemon, why not bring it on the one that can learn absolutely anything?
Yeah, you know, Spore is going to be great support right there, but it is going to have to watch out for Alfredo's Tapu Koko with that Electric Train. Going to be able to prevent Pokemon from being asleep if they are grounded. And, you know, this is kind of a combo that's interesting to me. You know, a lot of players are opting for this Tapu Koko Cresselia core, in which the Electric Seed actually activates on the Cresselia and boosts its defenses to try to keep it out on the field as long as possible.
Yeah, and that's something that I think is going to be quite important as the game plays out, because as you look down Alfredo's team, something we talked about a little bit, and I know some of the Masters Division players talk about, is how many ground resistance do you have? Now, if this Landorus wants to consistently fire off Earthquakes, 3 of the Pokemon on Alfredo's team aren't going to appreciate that in the slightest. Gastrodon's not going to be a huge fan either, but you're going to want Cresselia on the field as much as possible to open up that option to hit the Earthquake on Pokemon such as Nihilego.
And here we go now, jumping into the leads. It looks like Alfredo is going to lead with Incineroar and Tapu Koko. Enzo on the other side leading with Smeargle and Kartana.
Well, this turn could be one of those that comes down to the predictions. We could have a fairly dull turn where they just exchange fake-outs on the non-fake-out potential Pokemon on their opponent's side of the field, or one of them could try and make a play, catch their opponent off guard, land a fake-out before the other one does, and then weave in a really big attack here. As you mentioned in team preview though, you know, once these fake-outs come in from this Smeargle, they're usually carrying Spore. They don't have access to Dark Void anymore, so its support options do change a little bit in that regard.
Smeargle using Fake Out on that Incineroar, going to make sure that it won't be able to move as Tapu Koko on Alfredo's side. Uses Volt Switch, going to break that Focus Sash on that Smeargle, which they are so commonly carrying these days, allowing Alfredo to be able to adjust to the Smeargle and Kartana leads.
Yeah, I really like the switch out from this Tapu Koko here, knowing that he needs to try and save that for later. And really smart to try and get as much damage down on Smeargle, clear away the threat of the Spore, so even if you don't manage to get the Electric Train set up second time, you don't have to worry about your Pokemon being asleep for an extended time.
Metagross is going to take the field, has a pretty decent matchup versus that Kartana as it sets up its Tailwind here, going to give Enzo's team a quick speed boost for 3 more full turns after this one, as Smeargle's Moody is going to activate, going to boost its defense sharply, but it's already taking so much damage. The attack drop is at all.
Yeah, that's actually a fairly neutral Moody boost there on the Smeargle, so defense going up probably isn't going to matter when you're on at 36 hit points. But I mean, an interesting switch in there from Alfredo, clearly expecting the combination of Fake Out and some kind of offense from the Kartana, but we see Enzo reveal the Tailwind. That's going to mean the Smeargle does have an option to get a support move off. It's going to be limited, no Spores, both Pokemon on Alfredo's side of the field grounded in Metagross and Incineroar. But now this Kartana is going to be guaranteed to move first and be able to get some big damage down before it potentially just catches a Flare Blitz. We don't see any switches this turn.
Mega Metagross is going to take that field, going to sacrifice that Clear Body ability for the Tough Claws ability that makes it do so much damage, as Smeargle opts for the Follow Me, going to redirect all single target attacks from Alfredo's side. Looks like Kartana uses the Sacred Sword, hits that Incineroar, super effective damage, but Incineroar hangs on with about 40% of its hit points remaining, as Alfredo uses Metagross to KO that Smeargle. So the first KO on the board for Alfredo. Incineroar going to follow with a Flare Blitz here. It is going to target down that Kartana, and well, Kartana does not enjoy that at all in the easy one-hit KO.
Yeah, 2 knockouts in 1 turn there for Alfredo. Really good turn for him there, you know, managed to avoid a couple of threats. Even better for him, the recoil from his Flare Blitz on that clean one-hit knockout activates the Margot Berry, and he's going to be looking pretty healthy now. Overall, he's only taken about 25% on this Incineroar, and he's got a 2 Pokemon advantage.
Nihilego is going to take the field here. It can do some good damage over onto that Incineroar with a powerful Power Gem, and Charizard here is going to take the field as well, also having a decent matchup versus this Metagross.
Yeah, this momentum swing could get really big for Enzo in this one. Purely because he's got the Tailwind set up, he doesn't have to worry about moving, you know, a little bit later in this turn. Charizard could just Mega Evolve, start dealing huge damage to this Metagross, and as you said, Nihilego of options to try cleaning up against this Incineroar. I think if you could get both Pokemon knocked out with this combination, would be a huge turn for Enzo. The question is he going to have to stretch and use an overheat onto the Metagross to guarantee the knockout?
Incineroar is switching out here. Alfredo is going to send in that Cresselia. It is going to activate an Electric Seed here to boost its defense by 1 stage, just trying to keep it out on the field as much as possible, but that boost is not going to matter against these two well-known special attackers, as Mega Charizard Y is going to take the field, activating that Drought. Going to go ahead and boost its Fire-type attacks as well here.
Yeah, it's going to have to be careful, though. You don't want to be caught when it's just your last 2 overheating, because while you may be able to get 1 knockout, you're not able to get follow-up knockouts so easily after the drop to your special attack.
Nihilego uses Power Gem on that Cresselia as Charizard uses Heat Wave spread damage right now. Going to hit both Cresselia and that Metagross. Easy one-hit KO on that Metagross. Cresselia hangs on with about 25% of its hit points remaining, but it's already taken so much damage that it might not be able to try to set up anymore.
Yeah, once it's gone down, it's going to be a bit of a problem, but I do like that the Cresselia switch in preserves the option of Incineroar. I think knowing about the Power Gem is so important, because then he gets to bring in Incineroar later and try and stop this Nihilego for a turn. I think really importantly now, Alfredo's going to need to find a way to stall out this Tailwind and then get back to a slower pace of play, especially with this Tapu Koko in, that would be able to do great damage to this Charizard, you know, at least attack before the Nihilego. So even if you can't easily get the knockout, you can try and get some damage down on it there. The Cresselia would be really nice to attack this Nihilego, but it's in no position right now to try and do that with the Tailwind in play.
Yep, Tapu Koko now going to protect itself here, going to stall out this last turn of Tailwind, allowing Tapu Koko to outspeed both Nihilego and Charizard later on. Nihilego going to hit into that protect with a Sludge Bomb, as Charizard follows up with a Heat Wave here. It connects on that Cresselia, and that is the KO on Cresselia.
Yep, Cresselia gone, and like I said, capitalizing on this Tailwind, the momentum's all been in Enzo's favor for the past 2 or 3 turns. Every turn he's had Tailwind up, he's just been able to push on and keep going like that. His Charizard is not really stopped from just Heat Waving at this point, which, when it's one of your last 2, is what you need. This Incineroar going to be in an interesting position. It's only got 1 opportunity to fake out. There's no protects used in the last turn for Enzo here, so he could just double protect, buy some time throughout the fake out, and then make the turn a little bit harder, I think, for Alfredo without that kind of support in play. The Intimidate, not too valuable either. Like you said, a number of things on his team. Intimidate, the Electric Seed, are all there to stop physical attackers, but when you just keep your 2 special attackers in the back, it's really hard to slow them down.
Nihilego is going to use Protect here, going to try to prevent getting hit with an unnecessary fake out. Charizard also follows suit. Double Protect, just making sure that the fake out's not going to land and Enzo won't lose a Pokemon right here, as Incineroar does follow up with a fake out into that Charizard slot. Now, as Tapu Koko is going to go ahead and activate a Z move here, it is going to be a Gigavolt Havoc. So either of these Pokemon are not going to be able to fully protect themselves, but it's still going to most likely prevent the KO.
Yeah, and this is one of those interesting turns where if you know Double Protect is going to come through because of the threat of Fake Out, why not try and get some damage down, especially on both these Pokemon that aren't always the easiest to take out, with Electric Terrain running out of time as well. The attack does go towards the Nihilego and bring it surprisingly low through that Protect.
Yeah, and you know, Nihilegos are known to be very specially bulky, maybe hinting at something about this Tapu Koko over on Alfredo's side over here, as it took way more damage than anybody would have expected.
Especially through the Protect. I mean, it would have been the most comfortable knockout of all time, but he needed to do it on that turn. The Electric Terrain was going to be running out. It was going to be the last
turn. It is a Wild Charge.
Here's the confirmation.
Hits that Nihilego and gets the KO right there, hitting that Nihilego from its weaker physical defense stat. Wow, what a that's an interesting Tapu Koko for sure. Charizard now using Heat Wave, hits both Incineroar and Tapu Koko, gets the KO on that Tapu Koko. So now this Incineroar needs a way to be able to KO this Charizard. Gonna use Knockoff, its best option, gonna hit into Charizard for about 40% damage right there.
Yeah, the big thing here though is the Incineroar's already consumed its berry, and that Charizard being able to capitalize so well on that Sun that's bought with its own ability. I think the interesting here for Alfredo would be how he played this one. The Heat Wave misses, and it's going to be a fight back as the sunlight fades.
And that is actually great news for Alfredo right there, because these Heat Waves or any other powerful fire-type attack, if Charizard has it, won't do as
he's
much.
Going for it.
Here comes the Overheat. How much is it going to do outside of the sun to this Incineroar? Incineroar hangs on with 25% and should be able to get the KO here with a knockoff.
That Heat Wave miss is huge for this game, and Alfredo manages to come through and clutch out game 1 against Enzo. Really good end game there for both these players, but that one miss, absolutely crucial. That extra damage would have been just what he needed, and that's why you can't always rely on Heat Wave.
Yeah, interesting that Enzo actually decided to opt for the Heat Wave first instead of going straight up for the Overheat in the Sun, because if it was boosted in the Sun, that would have been a KO.
Yeah, he would have made it all the way there, and that last turn where he needed to hit those attacks just didn't pull the trigger at the right time. So Alfredo does manage to come back. He had a great start to the game, a pretty rough middle, but at the end, he saw what he needed to do, weaving in that damage, targeting the right things down. You know, he knew that Tapu Koko was going to go down in that turn if he didn't deal with Nihilego. So he let it go down to Charizard. Then he knew that Charizard, against his Incineroar would actually be able to come back and do it, because it wasn't going to take big damage from any of Charizard's offense.
Also, you know, Alfredo, instead of going for those Flare Blitzes, which in the Sun, even though Charizard resists it, it does actually do more damage, I believe, because of the Sun boost, but at the cost of taking a recoil. So, you know, Alfredo was smart right there to not try to put himself in range of the Heat Wave or the Overheat KO.
Yeah, just letting himself work slowly through it with the knockoff. Yes, it's not getting the boost because you can't knock off the Mega Crystals, but, you know, he had to make sure he was hitting attacks consistently and doing solid damage across the board. I do wonder if he's going to try and play that one a little bit differently, maybe get a little more value out of the Tapu Koko, but we're going to see the same lead from both sides.
Yep, Tapu Koko and Incineroar for Alfredo, as Kartana and Smeargle for Enzo here, so the exact same leads from both sides. Probably going to try to set up that tailwind, which is going to be important to be able to outspeed that Tapu Koko.
Yeah, and you're going to have to wonder, you know, is there going to be any way for Alfredo to try and deal with that tailwind? It was so important in game 1. Those turns where tailwind was active were the turns where Enzo was consistently knocking things out or forcing Alfredo to play a certain way. If he has an answer to that, that could be really interesting to see it. Yeah, he managed to get a big knockout with the Flare Blitz, but it looks like we're going to be off to a very similar start, if not slightly different.
Smeargle actually goes for the fake out into that Tapu Koko slot instead, as Kartana sets up that tailwind, and Incineroar just going to go straight into a Flare Blitz right now. It is going to hit that Kartana, and again, that is an easy one-hit KO from that Incineroar. So, you know, now this is actually better position for Enzo, because he can easily pivot in another Pokemon to take advantage of this tailwind, and it looks like it's going to be an accuracy rise right there as an attack drop happens with Moody. Not exactly necessary.
No, I don't think the current juncture, the accuracy drop is going to be important. We do know back in the past when Dark Void was available on Smeargle, then you needed the accuracy boost, but now it's really not so important. The big thing here, I think, is he's got Smeargle to help support this Charizard. We saw what great work the Charizard did in previous games. The tailwind's up, so it doesn't have to worry about being caught by the Tapu Koko. We know it can comfortably knock out the Tapu Koko in the Sun. That's not a problem, so Mega Evolution into just some attacks would be great. Then the Incineroar, you know, we saw how slowly the Incineroar was dealing with that Charizard, and it's going to be even harder to do that when the Smeargle is on the field to potentially pull an attack away with a Follow Me.
Cresselia is going to take the field here. It is going to activate that Electric Seed, going to boost its defense, but, you know, Charizard Y is the special attacker. It can actually be out here just chipping away so much damage with that Overheat.
It becomes even more than chip damage. When you've got the Sun up from this Mega Evolution, even Cresselia is taking huge amounts of damage.
Yep, and here comes a Drought that will also boost Incineroar's Flare Blitz here, as Smeargle using this turn to redirect attacks with Follow Me right now. And Charizard opting to just go for a simple Heat Wave here, gonna get some damage out on both sides of the field. Cresselia taking about 40% right there, bringing Incineroar down to under 50 as the knockoff lands on that Smeargle. It actually breaks that Focus Sash as it hangs on. So here comes another Moody boost. It is a Speed Rise. It already is functioning in the tailwind, so that's not going to matter at all either.
Yeah, but I mean, if there is some crazy situation where, you know, he switches Smeargle out, wants to bring it, you know, it wouldn't really be too helpful. It's now down on the Focus Sash. I think something to get around this Smeargle needed to be done earlier. That's the big thing here. Smeargle is going to be able to take advantage, though, of the fact Cresselia is a levitating Pokemon.
Yep, it is going to put it to sleep with the Spore, and, well, Cresselia is not really doing that much. Ooh, a double avoid right there as Cresselia takes its first turn of sleep. Here comes Incineroar's chance to go for an attack. Just going to go for a U-turn. Just going to go ahead and KO that Smeargle and allow Alfredo to switch. So an unfortunate miss right there if you're Enzo.
Yeah, these Heat Waves have not been kind to Enzo at all in this game. A double miss there, absolutely huge. That means Incineroar actually leaves with a good amount of health. Getting the knockout on Smeargle, Enzo already down to his last 2 here. and he's managed to get out and preserve the fake out for later. If, you know, he can find an opportunity later in the game to put the pressure on with fake out, could end up in a very similar situation. I'd be curious to see if Enzo has bought exactly the same selection of Pokemon, and Alfredo is still keeping one Pokemon hidden from us. We are going to find out what Enzo's fourth is right now, though.
Yep, Tapu Koko takes the field. Pheromosa is a Pokemon that is very fast and very threatening. It is one of the fastest Pokemon in PGC 2018, so this is an adjustment that Enzo has made, and we'll have to just see how this Pheromosa deals here. Tapu Koko can easily just protect and stall out this Tailwind, but Pheromosa will be outspeeding it afterwards anyways.
Yeah, I think it's one of the fastest Pokemon ever, to be honest. I mean, not just in this year, but its coverage options are always good enough to try and get some big damage down. This Tapu Koko is forced to play it safe, and I wonder if he's got anything to hit this Cresselia super effectively.
Ooh, actually goes for a Throat Chop on that Cresselia. Going to prevent it from using, I believe, sound-based moves such as Roar or Hyper Voice, but those are not exactly moves that Cresselia are known to be using. And Cresselia actually hangs on with just a sliver of health as it continues to stay asleep through that massive amount of attacks that were just targeting it down.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to matter, though. I think Cresselia is going to fall pretty easily in the next turn. Even to a Heat Wave would do it. And now we've seen the Tapu Koko protect. Pheromosa can redirect its attentions over there. Fantastic call by Enzo to establish that Tapu Koko was going to protect, so he could really start whittling down this Cresselia even more effectively.
Cresselia now switches out. Incineroar is going to take the field. That Intimidate is going to be big because Pheromosa does have access to Poison Jab as a way to deal with the Alolan Guardians here. So that is going to be a big Intimidate, hopefully allowing this Tapu Koko on Alfredo's side to survive is what Incineroar is going for here. Poison Jab connects on that Tapu Koko, doing about 60% damage right there. Does get some poison, so it will residually chip, but it looks like Tapu Koko is going to be able to use that Gigavolt Havoc right here to deal some massive damage.
Yeah, it's going to be really big that it can get rid of this Charizard before it follows up with the Heat Wave, before it gets that extra knockout, because next turn, you know, you've got the pressure of Incineroar. This Incineroar is going to be very difficult to take out. Doesn't really matter, I think, which side of the offensive spectrum it does decide to attack from. This Charizard isn't going to appreciate, especially with the electric terrain up, and it's easily removed from play by Alfredo Chan Gonzalez.
Yeah, so Alfredo has been able to utilize his Z move very well, being able to do massive damage to that Nihilego in game one, and here just straight up picking up the KO on that Mega Charizard Y. So now Pheromosa out on Enzo's side. Last Pokemon standing versus Tapu Koko, Incineroar, and a sleeping Cresselia, and a Pokemon that we actually haven't seen yet.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't need to show it at this juncture. The Tapu Koko is going to be in a position to just try and start dealing damage. I mean, it is going to be moving after Incineroar, after Pheromosa, my apologies. But, you know, Pheromosa is going to be able to tidy up one of these. Yes, it has the opportunity to tidy up this Tapu Koko, but it's only got single target attacks. Alfredo, you know, is just able to wait its turn, and he'll land attacks on it sometime. It's not the most bulky of Pokemon. If you're stuck with one Pokemon left on the field, you need it to be bulky and able to fight back. Pheromosa is not that Pokemon. And
we've already seen the Focus Sash revealed on the Smeargle. Incineroar right now going to switch out. Cresselia is going to take the field here, so no matter what happens with this Pheromosa, it is going to be activating its Z move of its own. It's going to be an all-out pummeling from this Pheromosa, but Alfredo right now really just trying to position himself where he can get two Pokemon that he knows out on the field at the same time that are actually able to be moving.
Yeah, I don't think that's too big a problem, and I think there's maybe Enzo just showing off a little bit of the tech that he bought on this Pheromosa. All-out pummeling into Cresselia. I think it will get enough there, the 1 or 2 hit points required for the knockout, but not the most super effective move, not something you'd want to make earlier in the game. The big play there, just showing off why this Pheromosa made it all the way to the finals. It does get a Beast Boost, but I don't think it's going to be afforded the opportunity to do it.
And here comes the Volt Switch from that Tapu Koko. Pheromosa hangs on, but most importantly, Tapu Koko will also preserve itself from getting KO'd from that chip poison damage at the end of the turn, but Incineroar is going to take the field. Tapu Koko can also take the field as well, or whatever Alfredo has in the back to seal this game up.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be important to see exactly what it is. The Incineroar was the initial target of the potential all-out pummeling there, so getting rid of that would have been really interesting. But I mean, this turn, Pheromosa is going to have to protect again, otherwise it's going to be caught by Fake Out. We do see the Tapu Koko immediately come back into play. The poison isn't a toxic poison, so it's not the most dangerous through protects and such. But the electric terrain is back, so any attack is going to be more than enough. Pheromosa needs to find a magical way to hit both of these for the knockout.
Well, Tapu Koko can actually get KO'd here from the Protect, but again, there's one more Pokemon in the back for Alfredo's side, so Alfredo now just has to find a way to get that Pokemon in, which could easily just come at the end of this turn here as Tapu Koko hits into that Protect and takes some more poison damage. Tapu Koko does hang on with just a sliver of points right there, so yep. Alfredo might not even have to reveal what that last Pokemon is.
Yeah, the bar was just a little bit too thick for the standard poison damage to wear all the way through it. It is going to be the last hurrah. Pheromosa going through the high jump kick will connect with Incineroar.
On that Incineroar, but Tapu Koko can easily just follow up, and it looks like Alfredo Chang Gonzalez will be able to secure a repeat here at the North American International Championships. Here's a wild charge, hits that Pheromosa, and that does it. Alfredo Chang Gonzalez, congratulations. You are the 2017 and the 2018 North American International Champion.
Yeah, but he does not care that it's in a different city. He will turn up, and he was representing Australia so well. You know, he was the middle one last year between the two Khan brothers, but this year he's come back, made it all the way. We see the flag of the kangaroo. I don't think that's the official flag, but it seems to do the job.
Yeah, well played set from both players. You know, Enzo Recchi is still a very strong competitor. You know, he made it all the way back here to the finals of the North American International Championships. He played an incredible set in Game 2. You know, he really tried to position himself very well, but unfortunately just fell a little bit short to Alfredo.
Yeah, and I think Alfredo played so well. When you look at the team matchup, Enzo's team was so fast and offensive. And we saw in both games, there were turns when the tailwind was up, where he was able to capitalize, he was able to put a lot of pressure down. But those small changes, those switches into Cresselia, yes, Cresselia came in and actually, I don't think we saw a single move out of Cresselia for most of the games, but its presence there was enough to cause a problem. The fact that it didn't go down as soon as it came into play basically made it so the switch was valuable, and he'd be able to then wait until the Tailwind expired. In both games, we saw Alfredo very wisely wait for Tailwind to be out of play. Then he was able to bring his team out and actually play with it freely without just losing Pokemon every single time.
Wow, what an incredible series from both these players. You know, Alfredo fell short in the past couple international championships, but here he is again on top, champion again.
Yeah, I mean, that's something you want to be taking into Worlds, that, you know, you're coming in, you're going to be able to say, well, I've won the last two internationals in North America. He's going to be coming back to Nashville, playing at the World Championships, and hey, you've got to feel good about your chances when you have that kind of run behind you. A repeat performance at one of the biggest tournaments of the year. I'd be feeling great if I was Alfredo. Enzo's coming in, though, moved up a little bit in the championship point standings. They come in to the beginning of this tournament in 5th in North America. I know that seniors division has some absolutely stacked amounts of championship points, multiple invite amounts of championship points, you know, up and down a little bit, coming in as one of North America's favorites and really likely to do well at the World Championships later this year for the seniors.
I could definitely see this matchup that you just saw being a possibility for the World Championship Finals coming up later on in this summer. But first, let's go ahead and throw it to an interview with Anna and Alfredo, your new 2018 video game North American International Champion in the seniors division.
Thanks, guys. I am here with Alfredo. You're no stranger to tournament success, but you are all smiles right now. What does this championship mean to you?
Well, it's amazing because, like, I've had this curse that at internationals this year, I've only gone top 4, and then something happens in top 4, but now it feels good to finally get the championship.
What do you think the difference was here? What made you be successful here?
I feel like, well, first I'd like to give a shout out to Oliver. Well, he helped a lot with the team, so the teamwork was, like, good. And, yeah, Kotesh as well, who made the team, yeah.
And going up against Enzo, did you expect this result? Did you kind of know what to look for?
Well, I was a bit scared because Smiggle and the Moody boost, and I was scared like evasion boost everywhere. But yeah, I'm glad that it turned out how it did.
How has your year been in terms of preparation? A lot of people at home are watching you and wanting to imitate how you prepare and practice and how you keep your mind right during tournaments. Can you tell us a little bit about your process?
Well, firstly, like, it's good to team build with friends and stuff because 2 brains or multiple brains are better than 1. So, like, you can help each other with ideas and then go to and you can perform well, yeah.
And other than the people you already have mentioned, is there anyone in specific that you wanted to say hi or thank you to?
Shout out to my parents and family, thanks. And shout out to the Peanut Gallery.
The Peanut Gallery. And what are you going to do next as you prepare for the next thing in your Pokemon journey?
Probably do a bit more team building, and yeah, and hopefully I can do well at Worlds.
We can't wait to see you there. Congratulations again, Alfredo.
Can I just do one thing? Could I do? Okay. Aussie, Aussie, Aussie! Aussie, Aussie, Aussie! 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 Aussie, Aussie, Aussie!
Perfect. Thank you, Alfredo, as always. Guys, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with the Masters Division of the Pokemon Video Game Championship right after this.
Welcome back, everyone, to the 2018 Pokemon North American International Championships. My name is Evan Latin. I am joined at the desk for the very last time this weekend, my good friend Aaron Cybertron Zhang. Aaron, we have seen so much Pokemon over the course of this weekend. Pokken Tournament DX, Pokemon Trading Card Game, Pokemon Video Game Championships, and it all comes down to this, our final match of the weekend, the Masters Division of the Video Game Championships Finals.
Yeah, I'm so excited. These players, I think, have played already 16 rounds of best of threes. So it's a lot of Pokemon to be played, and they were the best of the best. And here we are with two incredible players, both vying for such a prestigious championship.
Yeah, an amazing accomplishment to even make it this far to the finals here in Columbus. Of course, this is our final tournament before the World Championships in August down in Nashville, Tennessee. So both of these players that we are about to see in the Masters division trying to make an impact here in Columbus before that tournament. And really, both of these players that we're about to see, Justin Burns and Jeremy Rodriguez, these are two players that have sort of flown under the radar for the large proportion of their careers, making a huge splash here at the North American International Championships, and one of them gets to walk away as a champion.
I'm really excited to see both of these players in this finals. It feels like a lot of times with these international championships and the world championships, there's often one player who may be a significant favorite over the opponent. But I feel like Justin and Jeremy both have actually been two of North America's top players for quite a while now, but maybe not as recognizable as others because they haven't been able to make it as far on the international stage relative to the regional level. So this feels like a match where they're both, really, really strong players, and it feels kind of like a 50-50 where I don't think there's a clear favorite, and it's really going to come down to who plays better.
Yeah, and I absolutely cannot wait for this match to start, so I choose not to wait. Let's head on down to the stage right now.
Welcome back to the Pokemon Video Game Masters Division Finals. You look very excited, and I am also very excited to introduce you to our finalists. Please give a warm round of applause for Jeremy Rodriguez and Justin Burns. The crowd already can't stand it. Are you guys ready to show us a good match? Awesome. Go ahead and take your seats, guys. We can't wait to watch you. And casters, take us away.
Oh, definitely going to be a great match here in Columbus. Both of these players, Justin Burns and Jeremy Rodriguez, we already mentioned a little bit, flying under the radar, ready to show the world that they mean business headed into Nashville.
And I do want to kind of talk about these guys' accomplishments before we start this, because both of these actually have been regional champions before. They performed at the regional level. Justin has, I think, made it to the day 2 of the last 3 World Championships, almost made that top cut last year, finishing 4 and 3. So even making it to day 2 of Worlds is difficult now that we have, the 2-day format before the final top cut. So Justin has been a player that I know has been on my radar for quite a while now. Jeremy has had a very, very impressive season as well. We do take a look at Justin's accomplishment. Did win the Seattle Regionals in 2017 and was a finalist at the St. Louis Regionals, not to mention multiple World Championship qualifications in that second day.
Absolutely. His Regionals finalist and a championship under his belt, adding North American International Championship finalist as well already. Of course, by his performance here this weekend over the course of both days and now today on Sunday, he has also managed to qualify for Worlds again. Thanks to his strong showing here. He is running a team that we have seen a few times over the course of the weekend. That Tapu Fini, Metagross, Zapdos, Therian, Landorus Therian form, Amoonguss, and that Incineroar. We've already seen him piloting this team at an incredibly high level, able to make some really difficult, hard reads and keep momentum in his favor. But if he's going to be the champion here in North America, in Columbus, Ohio, he has to get through Jeremy Rodriguez first.
Yeah, one fun fact about Justin is that he actually wasn't qualified for day one of the World Championships before this tournament. So there was actually a lot riding on this for him. For a lot of players in this North American Internationals, they'd already qualified for Worlds, and there wasn't as much on the line, I would say. But for Justin, you know, he knew he had to place in the certain position in order to get that Worlds invite. So he's obviously gotten his invite at this point, and he's looking to get that first title as well in the international stage.
Absolutely, and Jeremy Rodriguez will be his opponent here in the finals. You can see he has a number of regional championships from back in 2015 and 2017. Best placement so far this season has been a top 8 at the Roanoke Regional. So adding a finalist appearance here in the North America International Championships, really elevating his profile heading into the World Championships. Running a team that I think we actually started off or came very early on in the tournament, saw the Drifblim and Tapu Lele Metagross core alongside Amoonguss, the Rotom Heat, and the Landorus Therian form. So it's fun to book in the tournament with a team like this.
Yeah, definitely. It makes me really happy to see Drifblim Tapu Lele return, because that was a combination that was incredibly powerful in the VGC 2017 metagame. And these teams are actually quite similar in how they function. Both of them have a Tailwind user, Drifblim with Tailwind and Zapdos with Tailwind, and both have the core of Metagross, Amoonguss, and Landorus. So I'm really excited to see how this one plays out, because I think there's small intricacies in both teams that will really end up determining how this game goes. And we're ready. We're going into team preview right now.
Yeah, these players wasting no time at all. Justin Burns, Jeremy Rodriguez. One of these two players will be your North American International Champion after just 2 or 3 games. Looks like Jeremy has already made up his mind on what Pokemon he wants to send. Both of these players probably spending all of last night trying to game out how this first turn is going to go and how to react in game.
Yeah, I think I'd be really surprised to see either player bring Amoonguss into this matchup, and I think Tailwind is going to be essential. Both players have a way of setting up Tailwind. Zapdos Tapu Fini combination from Justin and the Drifblim Tapu Lele combination from Jeremy. I think Rotom Heat's also going to be a really essential Pokemon in this matchup for Jeremy specifically because of how much damage it can do. We saw yesterday that it was the Z-move variant, which can potentially one-shot something like that Tapu Fini. So we're going to get right into this, and I wouldn't be surprised to see something like Drifblim Tapu Lele versus Zapdos Tapu Fini right away, but we'll have to see.
All right, both players heading into game 1 now. This turn 0, deciding which Pokemon they're actually going to send out to represent them here in Columbus. In one of the most important matches of both of these players' tournament careers, Tapu Fini Zapdos will be the leads coming out from Justin. Metagross and Rotom coming out from Jeremy, actually. So Justin being the person to threaten Tailwind, while Jeremy just going for some offensive pressure with that Metagross and that Rotom.
Yeah, I like the decision on Jeremy's end actually not to lead Drifblim Tapu Lele if he's predicting the Zapdos Tapu Fini, because most of the times the Tapu Fini will be slower, meaning Psychic Terrain will be negated. Zapdos has a pretty optimal matchup against Drifblim. One of the problems with Drifblim is even with the Unburden and the Psychic Seed, Thunderbolt still does a lot of damage to him. I think Tapu Fini normally wins that matchup. So Jeremy kind of switching it up a little bit, bring the Metagross and Rotom Heat. And one thing we have to really wonder is whether this Rotom Heat is faster or not than the Tapu Fini. Because if it is, then we could potentially just see it launch a Z-move into it. I expect Justin to play relatively conservatively here, maybe go for a Protect and Tailwind play right away.
Well, Jeremy not going on the offensive with that Rotom. Will be switching out the Tapu Lele to maintain control of the terrain. That Psychic Surge, setting the Psychic Terrain, boosting the power of that Metagross, and activating any Misty or the Psychic Seed on Drifblim. Metagross on Justin's side will be switching in as well, able to take advantage of that terrain for Justin's team, but Jeremy going ahead and Mega Evolving his Metagross, ready to go on the offensive with that Pokemon. It can deal a lot of damage with a Zen Headbutt in this Psychic Terrain to that Zapdos. Not enough to pick up the KO. Zapdos hanging on just barely there. 10 hit points. Enough to get off the roost and heal itself back up. Now Metagross and Zapdos on Justin's side, but Zapdos able to heal, but not able to deal any damage whatsoever that last turn.
Yeah, no damage and no Tailwind, more importantly. I thought Justin had an opportunity to set up Tailwind there. Maybe he was expecting a double up into that slot and wanted to just get a free switch into his Metagross. But for Jeremy, that's actually pretty good because now he knows that the speeds are at least still somewhat in his favor. Metagross in a really good position here for both players, and Tapu Lele doesn't want to risk getting hit by something like an Iron Head. Gonna go right back into that Raging Heat.
Yeah, Metagross too scary for Tapu Lele out on the field. Has to switch out for Rotom Heat. The brave little toaster oven is way better suited to attacking that Metal Crab. Justin will also switch out for Incineroar, getting an Intimidate off onto the Mega Metagross on Jeremy's side. Without that clear body ability, no longer able to avoid the attack drop there, which means that Justin's Mega Metagross now the strongest Metagross on the field and will be immediately firing back with a Stomping Tantrum, dealing just under 50% damage to Jeremy. Jeremy firing back with a Stomping Tantrum of his own, deals good damage to the Incineroar. Catches the Incineroar on the switch and deals some damage, but intimidated and alongside Rotom Heat right now.
Yeah, that's a nice play, though, to get that much damage off against Incineroar. Incineroar is really bulky, especially with the ability to Psycho and Intimidate, so nice call there. Rotom's also now does threaten both of these Pokemon. Incineroar can't fake out the Metagross, of course, because of that Psychic terrain. And one thing I also want to know is how these Metagross' speeds match up with each other. Of course, able to fake out Rotom, though, because it's not grounded.
Yeah, can't fake out the Metagross, but can fake out the Rotom Heat. Another Stomping Tantrum is not enough to pick up the KO. Metagross hanging on with another 1 hit point survival there. Fires back another Stomping Tantrum against Justin, dealing a little bit of damage as well. You can see the difference in Intimidate making itself apparent there, but just barely hanging on there. Justin misses out on the KO by 1 hit point.
Yeah, Justin's Metagross has moved first now twice before Jeremy, so I have to wonder whether this is a speed tie that we typically see with Metagrosses or whether Justin's is just faster. Does prevent Rotom from getting an attack off, and I think Rotom is still a really major threat to Justin's entire team if you look at who he has, especially if there's no Zen Headbutt on that Metagross. Incineroar won't be able to do much damage. Tapu Fini will have to try to avoid getting an electric type attack, and we actually do see Amoonguss. So Amoonguss does come out in this matchup.
Yeah, so Jeremy did actually opt to bring in the Amoonguss. Like catches and oh no, the Ice Punch catches the Rotom Heat. Deals a little bit of damage. We are going to see that Electrium Z, the Gigavolt Havoc, coming out from the Rotom Heat.
It's going to be a big attack regardless of whom it targets here. So Amoonguss coming out, not something I quite expected in this matchup, but it's still pretty good for Rage Powder support. It does have to worry about the Tapu Fini coming back in and setting up the Misty Terrain. But let's see who this goes into. Goes to the Incineroar, and I think this should be just a knockout right now.
That's a lot of damage and an easy KO onto Incineroar. Of the Pokemon that we've seen from Jeremy, Incineroar super threatening to that team, so a huge knockout for Jeremy to pick up on that Incineroar.
Yeah, one of the nice things about the Amoonguss being out here is even though it can't Spore, it can Rage Powder attacks away, and we did see the Waterium Z, I believe, on this Tapu Fini yesterday, so able to kind of negate that attack should it try to go for it. I don't think a Muddy Water would be able to knock out Rotom from this range. It would be close depending on how these Pokemon are trained, but Amoonguss, of course, right now can't Spore, so it's pretty much forced to Rage Powder or maybe switch out.
Yeah, Rotom Heat also threatening a lot of offensive damage against both Metagross and the Tapu Fini. Of course, without that Z Crystal anymore, won't be able to use the Gigavolt Havoc again, but Thunderbolt still deals a lot of damage, and so does Overheat.
Yeah, Overheat absolutely will knock out the Metagross from the range that it's in, should it connect. Can't Will-O-Wisp if it has it, but at this point, probably wants to go for a knockout anyway. No protects, no switch shots, just straight offense right now.
No Rage Powders either, just straight Iron Head onto Amoonguss. An Overheat coming out from the Rotom Heat connects with Metagross, picks up the KO there as well. So Jeremy picking up 2 quick KOs over the last couple of turns. Deals a lot of damage, and another Muddy Water coming out from Tapu Fini. Connects with both the Amoonguss and the Rotom. It's not enough to pick up the KO. Does get an accuracy drop, though. Amoonguss with a clear Smog will be targeting that Tapu Fini for some damage, and making sure that if Justin ever decided to use Calm Mind, not going to happen here. But Zapdos and Tapu Fini gonna have to make something happen against this Rotom and Amoonguss.
Yeah, Jeremy going for that little bit of chip damage, which actually goes a long way in this matchup, especially because that Tapu Fini doesn't have means of recovery. So it is a 2-4 deficit right now for Justin. Not the end of the world necessarily, but because Zapdos isn't grounded, it potentially could get spored, and Tapu Fini can't knock out the Amoonguss. So unless it's got some way to stop the Amoonguss from sporing, I think Amoonguss here does have a relatively free opportunity of sporing Zapdos. Of course, Zapdos could go for something like a Heat Wave, but then you won't be able to outspeed the Metagross. So he does get the Tailwind up, but the Zapdos might just be put to sleep right now.
Yeah, just going to be a Tailwind. Justin missed the opportunity to get the Tailwind for free on that first turn, instead getting it now, what, 6 or 7 turns deep, but no Rage Powder either, so just going to be the Hydro Vortex coming out from Tapu Fini. Not going for another Muddy Water, took that Thunderbolt from the Rotom Heat pretty well.
Who was it going to target? That's the question. You'd imagine maybe try to target Amoonguss to try to get the knockout. It is going to go to Amoonguss. This is going to be big if it knocks out. Let's see if it's enough.
Mushrooms typically like dark, damp places.
Oh, it survives!
Happy to take that Hydro Vortex. Just
and
barely
it all the way back up, and that's going to be a score in a Zapdos. That's most likely going to be the game there. Justin had to find a way to kind of maneuver this board position. He went for the Tailwind because if he doesn't Tailwind, Metagross will be able to come out, just outspeed everything if you knock out the Amoonguss. So
Tapu Fini still under Tailwind, able to threaten some Muddy Waters, may be able to make something happen with accuracy drops if it can connect. But we'll need a miracle here.
Yeah, Zapdos is going to want to wake up quickly if Justin wants any chance of winning this game, especially because that Tapu Fini doesn't have any means of recovery with the berries, so even Clear Smog is going to be doing some good damage. You can even bring out the Tapu Lele to potentially spore the Tapu Fini, as we see. So Amoonguss here might go for a spore, might go for, I mean, I'd probably spore here, but and an avoid.
Yeah, an avoid on the Muddy Water is not what Justin needs to make something happen. Damage connects to Amoonguss, takes a little bit of damage, doesn't pick up a accuracy drop, so Spore will connect to Tapu Fini. And Jeremy, really strong play here, still has all 4 of his Pokemon, and looks like he's going to be taking game 1 just about 4-0.
Yeah, really, really impressed by how Jeremy played this. He didn't end up going with Drifloon and Tapu Lele, meaning like he didn't have a means of setting up Tailwind, but he figured like he could just brew offense enough through it. And the Amoonguss actually put in a lot of work because of its ability to spore the Zapdos even with terrain up, and because it wasn't really worried of getting, one-shotted by something like a Metagross, which often actually doesn't even carry Zen Headbutt nowadays.
All right, both of Justin's Pokemon still asleep. Of course, Zapdos had an opportunity to wake up. Tapu Fini did not. That Psychic from Tapu Lele easily picking up that KO thanks to the terrain as well and that Life Orb. That Tapu Lele is going to be dealing some serious damage, and Rotom Heat not enough to take out not knocked out earlier, threatening that Thunderbolt immediately onto Tapu Fini as well.
Yeah, really commanding here by Jeremy. I'm quite impressed by how he played, and I think a lot of it came down to the lead that he had immediately. He made some really nice calls with his Mega Metagross as well, despite it moving after Justin. So I thought that's a really, really well-managed game, and Justin's going to have to go back to the drawing board in order to figure out how to approach the second game, because that felt like a pretty dominating game 1 from Jeremy.
Absolutely. Tapu Fini still asleep. Rotom protecting itself. Jeremy protecting his 4-0 in this game 1 of the finals of the North American International Championships. That is a huge momentum swing for Jeremy. 4-0, didn't lose a single Pokemon, in control of that game from turn 1. Justin is going to need to make something happen if he's going to have a hope of coming back from that kind of deficit.
Yeah, one of the things I do want to point out too is that Jeremy does actually have Zen Headbutt on his Metagross. A lot of Metagrosses often will forego that to run a moveset of Iron Head, Stomping Tantrum, Ice Punch, and Protect. So even with teams with Tapu Lele, a lot of those Metagrosses will carry something like Ice Punch. But the Zen Headbutt there was so huge against the Zapdos.
Yeah.
Didn't get the knockout, but did so much damage, and Justin did have an opportunity to Tailwind in the beginning of that game. I think like Zapdos, Tapu Fini is still an okay lead, but the Tapu Fini is often forced to switch out immediately if the Rotom Heat comes out. So
yeah, just going for a Roost that turn 1 to heal a little bit of the damage, not enough. You needed more out of Zapdos from there.
Yeah, definitely. And it feels like the Metagross Rotom Heat combination is actually incredibly strong from Jeremy. Just looking at what Justin can go for, I mean, you're not really going to bring Amoonguss against that. If you bring Incineroar, you can, at best, maybe fake out the Rotom, but Metagross can just Stomping Tantrum and it won't be intimidated. Zapdos takes a lot of damage from both of those. Landers won't be able to intimidate right from the get-go with the Metagross, so it feels like, I don't know, maybe Justin should go with just Zapdos, Tapu Fini again. His Metagross also can put on a little bit of pressure, but it doesn't look like it has really any way to hit that Rotom Heat. So that's why I think Rotom Heat has been such an important Pokemon for Jeremy in this matchup, and we did see him play really, really well with it, alongside the Amoonguss, which I still am really impressed by how he was able to navigate. One of the biggest calls he made that last game, not going for that Rage Powder, and then the Z-move didn't come out there, so Rotom was able to get more mileage right there.
Yeah, really difficult for Justin to deal with that Rotom Heat. With the Pokemon that he has, the Tapu Fini, of course, being probably Tapu Fini and the Landorus probably being the best options, but opted not to bring the Landorus last time. Had to rely on the Tapu Fini, which is always threatened by the Thunderbolt there.
Yeah, and I think Landorus is still kind of a tricky Pokemon to bring here because you know, how it matches up against Metagross specifically, you'd have to bring it after the Metagross Mega Evolves, and so I think it's a little bit tough to maybe lead landers because you do want to get that Intimidate in. So we do see Zapdos Tapu Fini come in again from Justin. I think that's his best lead matchup, even if it didn't look that great the last game.
All right, the same leads for both players in Game 2. As a reminder, last time these 4 Pokemon stared each other down, Jeremy won 4-0. Justin needs to make some changes in how he plays this matchup. Something's gonna have to give here, or else he will be going home as only the runner-up. Needs to win this match in order to force a Game 3 and keep his tournament hopes alive.
Yeah, and you know, like you mentioned, exact same leads from last time. Once again, the Tapu Fini potentially in threat of just a Z-move from Rotom. So I think Justin's gonna have to make some big calls here. Last time he didn't set up the Tailwind immediately, so maybe this time around he can adapt and go for that, because we saw that the Metagross isn't able to knock out the Zapdos even with the Psychic Terrain boost instead Headbutt. It is gonna switch out again, doesn't want to get knocked out by that Z-move, and goes into Metagross.
Yep, switch into Metagross from Justin, bringing that Pokemon out, while Jeremy going to go ahead and Mega Evolve his own Metagross. No switch out this time to create the Psychic Terrain, so not as threatening with the Zen Headbutt, but actually the Stomping Tantrum will connect with the Metagross on the switch. That's a lot of damage. Justin gets the Tailwind up this time, but if that Rotom Heat attacked the Metagross, that's so much offense down. Going to be the Gigavolt Havoc coming out from the Rotom.
We'll have to see who it targets here. If it is that Metagross, that's a major threat out of the way. Metagross and their Tailwind, one of the scariest Pokemon to go up against. Let's see if this is going to go into it or if it's going to go to Zapdos. I think it's probably going to go into the Metagross slot, though.
Yeah, Gigavolt Havoc clearly attracted to the Lightning Rod of the Metallic Metagross. Picks up that KO cleanly, and Jeremy playing one step ahead. Justin gets the Tailwind up this time, but loses a huge offensive threat in his Metagross.
Yeah, Jeremy kind of calling Justin out there for not protecting with Tapu Fini. That's often something you could do. You know, I was surprised both games where Tapu Fini didn't just protect and Tailwind. Instead, gets the knockout onto Metagross. That is just such a big deal because of how good Metagross is in this matchup, especially the ability to go for Stomping Tantrums against Jeremy. So really nice call there, but now Justin at least does have a fully healthy Tapu Fini and Zapdos and multiple turns of Tailwind. These next couple of turns, Jeremy's probably going to go on the defensive, maybe protect, switch out, especially if he has that Amoonguss, a good Pokemon to bring in to kind of redirect attacks away. So I think, yeah, Jeremy, these next few turns really should just focus on stalling out this Tailwind and then going from there, because once Tailwind's over, he's going to have Metagross, Justin no longer has Metagross, and the combination of something like Metagross and Tapu Lele, if Jeremy brought the same Pokemon, would be really good. So probably double protect here.
Yeah, on the flip side, incredibly important for Justin to get as much damage down as possible. Just a protect coming out from Metagross, not a double protect. Heat Wave connects a little bit of damage to the Rotom. Tapu Fini with the Muddy Water did not go for the Hydro Vortex, but will connect with Rotom Heat, dealing some damage right back to Rotom. Survives pretty handily and fires back with a Thunderbolt onto that Tapu Fini, dealing about the same amount of damage.
That's another nice play from Jeremy there. Doesn't end up protecting the Rotom, which is in threat of getting knocked out by a Hydro Vortex, but instead Rotom actually doesn't faint. And anytime you can prevent a Pokemon from getting knocked out under Tailwind, you know, you just waste another turn of the Tailwind, and Rotom does have the option to protect this turn. So really great play there. Z-move doesn't end up coming out, and I mean, Tapu Fini takes so much damage from that Thunderbolt. So this turnaround, I think maybe you protect the Rotom, switch Metagross out. But the combination of Heat Wave and Muddy Water does do a lot of damage though right now. Justin doesn't have to. No protect.
No protects, no switches, just damage coming out. Heat Wave deals a little bit to the Metagross, deals a little bit to the Rotom Heat as well. Going for the Hydro Vortex, so no Muddy Water. That means if Justin's targeting down the Metagross, we'll be able to pick up a KO on that Pokemon, but Rotom Heat will still be around to deal damage back without the spread attack of that Muddy Water. So we'll try to flush that Metagross down the drain here with the Hydro Vortex. Now, Rotom Heat's going to need to fire back and avenge its pal, the Metagross.
Yeah, so once again, Jeremy playing rather offensively under this Tailwind.
Yeah.
I think it makes sense because if you look at the board position, Justin's only able to knock out one Pokemon. And Jeremy can trade that one Pokemon, and he's already up that knockout earlier from the Metagross. Tailwind is also about to expire, and Incineroar comes out, which you know, we'll be able to get Intimidated off here. Amoonguss is going to come out. One thing I was slightly curious about from Jeremy's end is if he did bring the Amoonguss, and that last one is that Tapu Lele, by giving up Metagross like that, his answers against this Incineroar are actually not very great. So even though I feel like Jeremy's played pretty well right now, if Tapu Lele is the last Pokemon in the back, this still could be a really scary game for him.
Yeah, last Pokemon going to matter pretty heavily for Jeremy. Incineroar, we saw last game, had a strong matchup against most of the Pokemon that Jeremy brought, but got sniped pretty early on by Jeremy. So Incineroar now at full health, threatening fake outs, threatening flare blitzes, threatening knockoffs, while Zapdos still able to threaten heat waves and reset Tailwind if it needs to.
Yeah, and the other thing is that the Zapdos is a pretty bulky one. It does have heat wave. An ally switch comes out.
Rotom Heat going ally switch, trying to protect Amoonguss here. Zapdos' Heat Wave misses Rotom, but will connect with the Amoonguss in the new slot. Deals just under 50% damage.
Oh, who's it going into?
Flare Blitz. Was it trying to target down the Rotom Heat? No, it was trying to target down the Amoonguss. Gets tripped up by the ally switch. Incineroar will pick up that KO here, but now Amoonguss free to spore the Zapdos.
Yeah, and this is one of the things about Amoonguss that I thought, which is why I was surprised Jeremy brought in the first place. I think that first game demonstrated why it was really good.
And
now
Tailwind.
Yeah, Tailwind ends, but Amoonguss isn't doing any damage. Now, if Landorus comes out right now, that would probably be the perfect Pokemon for Jeremy to have. But it is the Tapu Lele. And that makes this a little bit trickier because you know, Tapu Lele's damage output obviously quite good against Zapdos. Against Incineroar, a little bit scarier. So this will be a close finish to the game depending on how this Incineroar is trained and what item it has. But yeah, I think like Jeremy's played this game really, really well, but by kind of playing so aggressively under those couple of turns of Tailwind, now he's stuck with really one main means of offense, but Amoonguss at least a pretty good support Pokemon. That being said, it will go down to just a Flare Blitz, and Incineroar should still be faster than the Amoonguss. There are a lot of mind games right now, though, with the potential ally switch. Or no more ally switch.
No more
That's
ally
out of the way.
Amoonguss will protect this turn.
Unless Tapu Lele has it as well.
Zapdos does not get a chance to attack this turn because of the Spore. Moonblast will connect with Incineroar.
Oh,
a lot of damage! A critical hit! 5 hit points. Incineroar just barely hangs on, able to eat its Biggie Berry, heal up a lot of that damage right back, and fire an attack off. Zapdos, of course, still asleep, not able to move right now. Flare Blitz from Incineroar hits the protect of the Amoonguss. So Jeremy getting a bunch of damage onto Incineroar. Another Moonblast will be enough to pick up the KO. Zapdos needs to wake up if Justin is going to have a prayer here.
Yeah, good target honestly Incineroar there. I think that's definitely the bigger threat, and Zapdos plus Amoonguss, or Tapu Lele plus Amoonguss should be able to deal with the Zapdos in the late game. I'm not sure if another Moonblast will knock out the Incineroar, so that's really what it's going to come down to, because I think Zapdos will actually win 1v1 against Tapu Lele with the means of recovery. Is the Moonblast going to be enough?
It is enough! Incineroar goes down to Tapu Lele's Moonblast. Most of Justin's offense is up, but Zapdos wakes up! Gets a Tailwind. Already trying to make sure that Zapdos can be faster than the Tapu Lele. Clear Smog coming out from Amoonguss, so not going to be able, not going for another Spore to keep Zapdos in a sleep lock here. Just a little bit of damage. Zapdos now faster than Tapu Lele and of course the Amoonguss, but still probably going to be forced into Heat Waves here as Tapu Lele goes for a Protect.
Tapu Lele going for the Protect Zapdos, yeah, probably just going to have to spam Heat Wave, but Amoonguss should be able to survive this unless a critical hit happens. Should be able to put the Zapdos to sleep, and then you just Psychic, and no, it's not enough.
No crit, no crit. Amoonguss able to eat that, his own berry, going to heal right back up and put Zapdos to sleep with another Spore here. And with that Spore, Zapdos is guaranteed at least one turn of sleep, and all Jeremy has to do is click the Psychic button or the Moonblast button and win the game from here and become our champion.
Yeah, Jeremy played really, really well. I think he had figured out a great lead matchup to counter Tapu Fini Zapdos, which I feel like was Justin's best lead option. And at least gave Justin more outs than any of the other leads he could have had. Psychic is going to knock out Zapdos, and Jeremy Rodriguez is your 2018 North American International Champion in the Masters Division.
Such a strong 2-game win there from Jeremy. 4-0 in the first game, and then 2-0 here in the second. Always felt like he was in control there, and bringing that Amoonguss, putting those Spores down on Zapdos, punishing Justin's switches. Such a strong showing there from Jeremy.
Yeah, and I think that definitely goes to show the preparation that he might have put coming into this. I think it's kind of tough to maybe bring an Amoonguss on paper against something like a Metagross and an Incineroar, but maybe if you know the Metagross's moveset and you feel comfortable with how you can deal with it, then Amoonguss can put in a lot more work, and that's definitely the case. I think Amoonguss actually really may be one of the crucial Pokemons in both of those games for Jeremy, but ultimately, I think the matchup was slightly favored towards Jeremy, and he played it really, really, really well, especially with some of those predictions that he made in the beginning of the second game, just knocking out the Metagross immediately. That was just such a nice call, and you'd imagine like Justin could have easily gone for a Protect with Tapu Fini, gone for a Tailwind with Zapdos, instead wanted to get some more pressure on with Metagross, and really, really was punished heavily by that.
Absolutely. A strong punish game from Jeremy, able to dominate Justin in this finals matchup, really setting the stage for when he's competing in Nashville at the World Championships this August. But Justin Burns, an amazing tournament as well, making it to the finals, showing off a lot of tricks yesterday, just could not come up with the win this time around when it really mattered on this big stage here in Columbus.
Yeah, and that Life Orb Tapu Lele's Moonblast put in so much work against Incineroar as well. A lot of times we'll see Assault Vest on Incineroar. This one opted for a Berry variant, and Incineroar is a Pokemon that often doesn't carry Protect, so you can kind of Moonblast that slot safely. I thought the end game was still a little bit scary for Jeremy just because of how Tapu Lele and Incineroar typically may match up, but the Life Orb and the fact that Incineroar didn't have Protect made it that much easier. And of course, going into these matchups, players often have a lot of information on their opponent, so I think that was probably the end game that Jeremy was setting himself up for. To get the critical hit, it would have been interesting to see how it would have played out without the critical hit, if Moonblast would do enough to put it in berry range, maybe come down to some damage rolls. But once that crit happened, it was likely that another Moonblast would get the knockout and seal up the deal there. Yeah,
also just blowing that Flare Blitz into the Protect, not able to get any damage off there. It's sometimes in this high level of Pokemon, it comes down to if you make that one read correctly or not. And today, of all days, Jeremy came up big with all of his reads, and Justin just missed a little bit.
It would have been really interesting, actually, if the knockoff went into something like Tapu Lele and got rid of the item. Also, the Ally Switch on the Rotom Heat essential move there. Had the Flare Blitz gone into, the Amoonguss after an Ally Switch, that probably would have actually been game over. So
many whiffed Flare Blitzes on the Amoonguss.
Yeah, absolutely. And at the end of the day, the Amoonguss able to put in so much work, and I think that's a testament to how well Jeremy played. I thought, once again, it's a really difficult Pokemon to bring into this matchup because of the fact that it has to stare down an Incineroar or something like a Metagross, even Tapu Fini. But lots of good calls there consistently allows Jeremy to end up winning this game. But Justin shouldn't go home disappointed. He came into this tournament without his Worlds invite, ends up having a phenomenal performance, finishing second, getting his Worlds invite, and we'll see him in Nashville as well.
Absolutely, and that's enough of us just babbling on about what happened. Let's hear from the man himself, your new North American International Champion. Jeremy Rodriguez is backstage with Anna, ready for his interview. Take it away.
We are backstage indeed, and they just called you that title, the North American International Champion. How does that feel?
Fills me with pride. I'm really happy to say that I finally actually had a performance on the international stage. Just for context here, I have never before gotten over 5 wins at an international tournament. I've been to 3 of them, 1 in the US, 2 abroad, and this is a little bit of a change of pace.
Yeah, I would say so. What made this one different for you think?
Comparatively speaking, it was the first time I used a team I had really been familiar with. Back in 2016, which was actually the last time I attended US Nationals, I did use a team I'd been playing with a bit beforehand, but I'll be honest here and I'll just say I wasn't that great of a player back then. As for the 2 internationals this year, one of them, I think I really got unlucky with some matchups, and it wasn't really the correct team for the tournament in retrospect. And for the other one, there were a lot of things wrong with the team I brought. I just didn't have anything better at the time. So a combination of a solid team and being familiar with it really pulled through.
And tell us a little bit about how you got that solid team and how you got familiar with it, as people at home are looking at you wanting to say, how can I do that too?
Well, it started in Ashton Cox's basement with a ground DMZ Garchomp. I was staying at his house for like a week basically because we travel to events together, and sometimes I actually live in Pittsburgh and he lives out near Cleveland. It's easier for me to just stay with him. And he turns to me, and as we're trying to team build, and he's like, what about Drifloon Lele? And I was like, okay, I don't actually have a problem with that, but how do you want to build it out? And he's like, oh, here, have this. And he gives me a team with Tapu Lele, Drifloon, Garchomp, Metagross, Kartana, and the last one is a Charizard. And I'm like, this looks really bad. I hate it. I don't like it. So what I did was I started changing the mons on it. First things first, I thought it was a bit too hyper-offensive, so I suggested we change Kartana to Amoonguss. Then I thought we should probably get rid of the Charizard and I wanted a fire type there, and I didn't know what it should be. And Ashton actually came up, and he's like, hey, what do you think if we ran Heat Ran? And I'm like, Heat Ran? He's like, Assault Vest Heat Ran. And I'm like, yes. So that was the initial version of the team, and the final change was moving to Tapu Lele. Or no, moving to, I'm trying to forget. Which mon was it? Do you have any help here? Well, I'm blanking on my own team here, so, you know, that's what it is.
You know, it's been an exciting moment for you. You just came off stage after becoming the champion. I can understand how it might be a lot to process, a lot to sink in. And I know there's a lot of people like Ashton who have helped you get here. Is there anyone out there in the audience cheering for you, or anyone you want to say a particular thank you or hello to?
Well, I can't reiterate enough that Ashton's a great person, and every single event I've gone to because he's there and I've traveled with him. I'd like to also broaden the sphere and shout out the entire room who stayed with me and also helped me prep the matchup. So, you know, that's Ashton, that's David Mancuso, Luca Tregut, and of course, Ingrid. I'm not going to try to pronounce your last name. The other thing I'd like to shout out is a couple of my friends, Colin Heyer in particular, was helpful last night with the mental preparation, figuring out how Justin would be approaching the match. I felt pretty confident about my Mons and my team versus his team. I was a bit worried about myself as a player versus him as a player. I don't really know all that much about him, and that's kind of worrying for me when I don't know what type of plays he's going to make. And I think Colin really did help with that. Besides that, the one other shout out I'm going to give is to Team Ohio. This year, I have won a regional, I've won an MSS, I have now won a national. I have not won an Ohio Premier Challenge. I cannot win Premier Challenges. I can't even get finals. I always get shut out before top 4 because Ohio is just such a competitive region. And I feel like even at the smallest events, having really good practice against really good players is the type of thing that allows me to stand here right now.
There's absolutely so much to this community, helping each other get here. Congratulations, you have gotten here. You are the champion now, and we are going to get ready for the trophy presentation. So we'll be right back. Casters, take it away.
Like all great origin stories, it started in Ashton Cox's basement and has ended on the main stage here in Columbus, Ohio, crowning our new North American International Champion, Jeremy Rodriguez. And that finals performance was just masterful. Such strong play coming out from Jeremy, really proving that he deserves to be crowned the champion right now.
Yeah, I really like how he approached the matchup. You know, it's always scary when you don't bring your own tailwind, when you're facing off against opposing tailwinds. When you've got Amoonguss as well, that's, you know, one less means of offense that you deal with. But I thought he played that really meticulously, made some really phenomenal calls, especially that second game where it felt like even though he had such a big advantage, you still have to worry about tailwind and you still have to worry about just kind of getting blown back in those next couple of turns. But felt like he made almost every single call correctly, maybe every single call actually in that last game, and it felt like even if one goes wrong, he probably loses that game because of how the nature of Zapdos and Tapu Fini and Incineroar were blowing through. So really, really impressive job, and that was definitely an exhilarating set. I can't wait to see both of these guys at Worlds.
Yeah, absolutely. And as Jeremy was going through his list of accomplishments over the course of the season, I was just thinking, oh, regional, mid-season showdown, international championships. The only title left for him now is world champion this season, so he could collect all of the titles in a season. But there is still one title that's even more valuable than world champion, and it's champion of an Ohio Premier Challenge.
I mean, he made some great points, though. I think people often underestimate how good practicing with your local scenes can be. And you know, in the New York, New Jersey area, for example, there used to be a lot of strong players that would attend these Premier Challenges, and the level of play was just really phenomenal. And that really carries over once you look at the National and World Championships because you get a lot of prep for it going in and playing against all this great talent. So, you know, he was kind of joking around about that, but I really do think it's a testament to how skilled some of these areas can be and how much you can really learn from them while you're there. Yeah,
and having a core group of people like that who show up to events with you, that travel with you, like Jeremy has with Ashton and the rest of his friends, that's so important at a tournament like this, one of these big tournaments, to make sure that you keep your energy up, you stay focused, you have a group of people around you to sort of give you a pep talk when you're feeling bad, when you get flinched, double flinched by a Choice Scarf Land or a Asterium Forms Rock Slide in one of your deciding matches. But, you know, if you have that core group of people who can, you know, rally around you and support you, it not only helps you sort of get through the day, but it can help you prepare for an event like this so that you can feel comfortable on the stage in a grand finals and able to take home the crown for your region.
Absolutely, and one of my favorite things about the competitive Pokemon scene in general is just being able to see so many different games and so many different age divisions as well.
Yeah.
I think it's very rare for us to be able to see that in a competitive video game, and we had some really phenomenal performances by a lot of different players of all ages throughout the course of this tournament. I know I personally loved watching the junior and senior finals for the
Those were
VGC.
fun. Those were fun.
Really exciting games there. The Pokémon tournament finals really fun as well, and of course all the trading card game finals really exciting, especially with a 3-time international champion winner in one of the finals over there. So lots of great storylines, lots of great fun action, and I'm kind of sad that it's all coming to an end now.
Yeah, it's almost over, but before we leave, we want to make sure that we honor all of the trainers who are competed in the video game championships and crown our champions officially, throwing it down to the main stage for the trophy presentation.
Attention Pokemon trainers, Pokemon fans, I'd like to take this moment to thank you on behalf of the Pokemon Company International for making this the most incredible Pokemon tournament to date.
It has been amazing.
We had players from nearly 40 countries travel here to Columbus, Ohio to make this the largest tournament ever. We just got to see some amazing video game matches, and I want to kick it over to Anna to introduce your champions.
These champions have mentioned a whole bunch of times how important the community has been for them, so you're right, the fact that this was a big tournament helped them get here, and I'm so proud to introduce them to you now. Please give each one a warm round of applause as they present their trophy to you. First, our juniors VGC champion, Justin Miranda Radford. Our VGC seniors champion, Alfredo Cheng Gonzalez. And our VGC Masters champion, Jeremy Rodriguez. And finally, one more round of applause for all of our 2018 Pokemon Video Game North American International Champions. Let's hear it! And a huge thank you to all of them, right, Dave? I mean,
Absolutely.
A round of applause from us to them.
And a round of applause for yourselves. We couldn't do this without you, and I hope we see each and every one of you in August in Nashville at the Pokemon World Championships.
We'll see you there. Good night.